Good evening, you're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Chaudhary. Because the importance of the elections in Uttar Pradesh isn't lost on anyone. The fact that it's a tectonic election, the fact that it is the semi-finals before the big 2024 general elections. It's also a fact that this particular election, the fight has come calling to the doorstep of the highest echelons of leadership. Well, Yogi Adityanath has decided to fight from Gorakhpur urban seat. And after saying no, that he was going to focus on the entire campaign of Samajwadi Party, it seems that Samajwadi Party chief Akhilesh Yadav has also decided to fight elections. Still unclear on which seat, but it's probably going to be Azamgarh with what it seems like right now. Has Yogi forced Akhilesh to contest, and is now the pressure on the other big faces, Priyanka Gandhi, to fight this election mounting? Take a look.
मैं आजमगढ़ की जनता से कहूंगा और पार्टी जहां फैसला लेगी वहां लड़ूंगा और चुनाव पहले होना चाहिए योगी जी से पहले लड़ लें चुनाव
High stakes UP poll battle is witnessing historic firsts. It may be the first time ever when two leading contenders for the top job will hit the poll fray in state assembly elections. Days after the BJP declared Yogi Adityanath as its candidate for the Gorakhpur urban seat, the Samajwadi Party is set to bite the bullet. Party chief Akhilesh Yadav gave clear hints so far that he too will contest in upcoming assembly polls for the first time, virtually choosing Samajwadi Party's stronghold of Azamgarh. Akhilesh had earlier ruled out the poll plunge.
मैं आजमगढ़ की जनता से अनुमति लेकर के ही चुनाव लड़ूंगा अगर चुनाव लड़ता हूं तो नहीं आजमगढ़ की जनता से अनुमति इसलिए लेनी पड़ेगी वहां के लोगों ने मुझे जिताया है
Akhilesh change of heart seems to have come after both UP CM Yogi Adityanath and his deputy Keshav Prasad Maurya took the poll plunge from crucial eastern UP region. The BJP had taken a dig at Akhilesh and dared him not to run away from the poll Dangal.
अगर उन्हें चुनाव लड़ना ही था तो इतना समय पड़ा था अभी तक वो तय ही नहीं कर पाए थे उन्हें चुनाव कहां से लड़ना है जब चुनाव के बिल्कुल मुहाने पर खड़े हैं और हार उन्हें सामने दिख रही है तो ये चिंता है कि जाएं कि ना जाएं अब ये तो तय उन्हें करना होगा
बड़ी देर कर दी हुजूर आते आते अखिलेश यादव जी पर अब इतना दबाव था मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी के चुनाव लड़ने की घोषणा के बाद उनके पार्टी कार्यकर्ताओं में बड़ी निराशा थी और ऐसे में अब कार्यकर्ताओं के दबाव के बाद अखिलेश यादव जी नामुकुर करते हुए चुनाव लड़ने के लिए तैयार ही हो रहे हैं लेकिन उनकी पराजय सुनिश्चित है
Akhilesh's big move comes on a day when his sister-in-law Aparna Yadav joined the BJP. The move may be a big one to reassure the Samajwadi Party cadre. The tectonic Uttar Pradesh election is seen as a semi-final to 2024. The stakes are so high that it's forcing the big faces to enter and literally fight it out in the election mudpit. Yogi Adityanath will fight from the Gorakhpur urban seat, Keshav Prasad Maurya from Sirathu, Prayagraj. Akhilesh Yadav poised to fight, seat unclear. Mayawati from the BSP not fighting. Jan Chaudhary from the RLD not fighting. Priyanka Gandhi Vadra unclear if she is going to fight at all. For the first time, the political fight seems to have come to the doorstep of the highest echelons of party leadership. Will the big faces put their money where their mouth is? Will they pick up the poll gauntlet? Will they take that risk? Bureau Report, India Today.
So viewers, it's a high-stake battle and high-stake risks will need to be taken. Yogi Adityanath has chosen Gorakhpur urban, which is his old constituency, to fight this state election. Will Akhilesh Yadav choose Azamgarh? Because he pretty much made it clear after saying no that he might just enter the poll fray. What about other political leaders? A lot of pressure on Priyanka Gandhi Vadra. She's taking the pitch to the people by saying, Ladki hoon, lad sakti hoon. With her being a woman, will she also fight this election, her first election? Well, we'll only know in time to come, but let's cut across to our panelists this evening with the question, has Yogi Adityanath forced Akhilesh Yadav to fight the assembly elections of 2022. I have with me Charu Pragya, spokesperson Bharatiya Janata Party. She's joining me in just about a minute. But Abhishek Sudhir, advocate and political analyst, let's begin with you. What made somebody like an Akhilesh Yadav, who till very recently had publicly declared that he will not be fighting this election but focusing on the entire party campaign, change his mind and indicate that in all probability he is going to be fighting this election?
Preeti, I did watch his press conference today. He basically said that he would like to get the views, the opinions, and probably even the permission of the people of Azamgarh before he made a decision, because he says he's made a promise to the people of Azamgarh that he will be their member of parliament till 2024. So there's not much clarity on whether he's going to contest or not. I think the larger point is that today the BJP, in fact, released a list of their campaigners for the Uttar Pradesh election, about 30 names. Ajay Mishra Teni's name was missing, but there are 30 names, union ministers and the BJP president, and so they have several star campaigners. The Samajwadi Party, on the other hand, is not a one-man party, but certainly Mr. Akhilesh Yadav has a larger-than-life role to play in the party, and he has to take care of so many different things. If you watch the press conference today, both his phones were ringing off the hook. He was getting messages continuously. He's micromanaging. He's handling ticket allocation from the west to the east, 403 seats, 75 districts. He has to campaign. So he's got a lot on his plate. So I think he's politically savvy enough to come to the right decision. And I don't think if he decides not to contest, it's going to make much of a difference, because he has several safe seats in Uttar Pradesh. It's not, I can just start rattling them off if you want. Mainpuri, Etawah, Saifai, Firozabad, any seat in Azamgarh. So it's not a question of whether he can win or not. He just wants to, I think what he said basically, and I've heard some of the spokespersons say, is that he wants to make sure he can do justice to that campaign if he's fighting from one seat. And in fact, you've seen from Gorakhpur, Radha Mohandas Agarwal is on his way to Lucknow, is what I've heard. And he might be joining the Samajwadi Party.
Well, we'll only know whether he's joining the Samajwadi Party or not. But the fact is, there is hedging, because earlier on, Akhilesh Yadav had refused on camera, publicly saying he's not going to fight this election. But any indications are there to suggest, with what he's said of late and what our sources suggest, is that Akhilesh Yadav is going to enter the poll fray and he'll be fighting this election. That takes me to Charu Pragya from the Bharatiya Janata Party. Charu Pragya, the BJP till now was taunting Akhilesh Yadav that he is refusing to fight the election, while Yogi Adityanath has put his money where his mouth is by contesting from Gorakhpur Urban. But now they're criticizing him for doing this.
So, Preeti, I've been one of the people who've been encouraging not just Akhilesh ji, but every leader to contest the elections, because the litmus test of politics is contesting elections. And it's unfair to compare anyone to Yogi ji, because he's contested 5 consecutive terms, whether Lok Sabha or Vidhan Sabha, and he has won all of them. So he is a proved people's leader with a track record which speaks for itself. As for Akhilesh ji, he was always a parachute landing. He never contested. His father nominated him as the CM face of their party directly when he came back from abroad, and he has never tested the situation on ground. See, I for one would be very happy if he decides to contest whichever constituency he chooses, but pressure does account for a lot, because this narrative has been there for the last several weeks. If you want to lead your party into the battleground, why not lead from the front? Why not contest? And I am glad if it is pressure that is working for him. Well, fantastic. You should contest. You will come to know exactly where you stand.
All right. Okay. Abhishek Sudhir, you want to come in? The fact is quite clear, because there is considerable pressure for Akhilesh Yadav to actually change his mind from saying, no, I'm not going to contest, to now say that I will take the permission of the people of Azamgarh. And what indication suggests is that he's going to. It's come at the back of Yogi Adityanath's name being announced from Gorakhpur Urban.
Preeti, I don't think it's pressure. It's just one of the many things on his plate. He has won several Lok Sabha elections. He has never lost an election. Yes, he's been an MLC, and so is Mr. Adityanath. Mr. Adityanath has been an MLC. He was an MP when he was made Chief Minister. So Mr. Adityanath has also never won an MLA election. This is actually the first election campaign that Yogi Adityanath is leading, whereas Akhilesh Yadav has led the SP successfully to victory in 2012. You might say that Netaji played a prominent role, but it was actually Akhilesh Yadav's yatra the Vijay Rath Yatra. You've seen the latest avatar or the iteration of that in this campaign. But in 2012, he played a key role in the victory. So actually, Yogi Adityanath has never led the BJP to a successful electoral victory. Akhilesh Yadav has led the Samajwadi in the past. He has nothing to prove. He is the tallest leader in the state of Uttar Pradesh.
Charu Pragya, you want to come in? Well, that's a fair point, because in 2017, it was all up in the air who was going to be the chief minister. Very well, a lot of people thought it would be Rajnath Singh, and it turned out to be Yogi Adityanath.
So, Preeti, I want to just make one thing very clear. The Samajwadi Party of today is not the Samajwadi Party of 2012, because that was led by Netaji, as rightly said by Abhishek. And when Netaji was leading, the results were different from 2014, 2017, 2019, and now 2022. Now, these are the times when Akhilesh Yadav has led Samajwadi Party. And out of these 4 years that I have quoted, 3 times Samajwadi Party has not performed. So, whatever were their calculations and projections, they have not even come close to it. So that speaks for itself. As for UP's CM face, we did not contest last time because that was not a state that we had been winning frequently. Of course, we went all out. We are a cadre-based party. We are a party of Karyakartas. We will work hard on ground, win the election, and then if we already don't have a pre-decided CM face, it will be decided later, which was what was done in 2019. This time, of course, the scene is different. We already have Yogi ji leading. He has done a fantastic job for 5 years. So that's going to continue. But it's quite all right to decide in the end in a party as large as BJP.
Charu Pragya, before I go back to Abhishek Sudhir, and I'll come back to you, Mr. Sudhir, I want to ask you one quick question. The fact is, a lot of leadership of your party from Uttar Pradesh and even your national spokespersons and leadership is saying that, Akhilesh Yadav has been forced into contesting this election after Yogi Adityanath's name has been announced, and he's chosen what is perceived as a safe seat, which is Azamgarh. But, that same argument could be made about Yogi Adityanath as well. Gorakhpur Urban is the safest seat that Yogi Adityanath could pick.
So Gorakhpur is actually the seat that he's been contesting from for 5 times, like I said. See, it's not about safe seat, unsafe seat. I don't want to get into that discussion at all. Like I said, that I'm glad that he's contesting and no place is safe. That's been proved in 2019 when Rahul Gandhi himself lost in Amethi. So in the India of today, if you are not a hard worker, if the public does not accept you, they're not going to vote for you. So I don't believe in this whole terminology of safe seat. So no tall leader, no matter how tall, is slated to win an election just because he's a big name and he's contesting from a safe seat. But see, that's the difference that is there between BJP and Samajwadi Party, because when it comes to a so-called difficult seat, when you work hard on that seat, when you spend time there, when you put in a lot of energy, you can actually reach out to people in a very emotional way and you can turn that seat around. I don't see Samajwadi Party doing that. In fact, for the last 2 elections, even seats that they have considered the safest, they have lost. Dimple Yadav herself lost in 2019.
All right, fair point, fair point. Abhishek Sudhir, it's a fair point put by Charu Pragya that there is no concept of a safe seat anymore. The tallest leaders have actually lost their seats. But what is stopping Akhilesh Yadav? Because the Samajwadi Party went on the front foot to say that Yogi Adityanath has been sent back to Gorakhpur and it's a safe seat for him. Why doesn't he pick an unsafe seat, which, many are saying pick Mathura, pick Ayodhya?
I mean, Preeti, are you telling me that Akhilesh Yadav can't win from Mathura, Ayodhya in the Zilla Panchayat?
No, I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you. I'm just, it's a question I'm supposed to. I wish I could actually dictate who would fight from which seat, but no.
Yeah, no, it was just a figure of speech. Like I was saying, the Mathura and Ayodhya, Samajwadi Party swept the Zilla Panchayat polls there last year. In all the, his centers of Hinduism in Uttar Pradesh, Samajwadi Party did very well in the Zilla Panchayat polls last year. And of course, in the Block Pramukh polls, we know what happened with the BJP, using, I don't want to get into a sort of tutu meh with Charu, so I'm not going to go there. I just want to answer your question. Yes, I think the concept of a safe seat, we saw what happened in Amethi. We also saw what happened in West Bengal with Suvendu Adhikari and Mamta Banerjee, where Didi lost her seat, or despite the fact that TMC swept. Now, what that tells me is a sitting chief minister like Yogi Adityanath is not assured of victory. And Radha Mohan Das Agarwal has been the MLA of Gorakhpur Urban now, Preeti, for 20 years. He's in touch with the party and he could very well contest on an SP ticket against Yogi Adityanath. And you could very well see an upset even in Gorakhpur urban. That's all I'd say.
Well, we'll only know, but that hasn't happened yet. So that's all speculation right now, Abhishek Sudhir. But I'll go back to Charu Pragya. Charu Pragya, that's a fair point that even Mr. Sudhir is making right now.
Yes, and so I agree with him, and he's right, because there's no such thing as fair seat. But as for Yogi Ji's ground being shaken in Gorakhpur or anywhere in Uttar Pradesh for that matter, I do not agree with you. And the reason for that is that all you have to do is go and speak to 10 people in Uttar Pradesh. Just do that small exercise, go and talk to people. He has touched lives through his governance, and any family which has received clean drinking water or an LPG connection or a roof over his head. No, can I not compare a state election to a general one? And Akhilesh, I dislike being interrupted when I'm speaking. I will never interrupt you.
Abhishek, yes.
Appreciate
I agree
the
with
same
you.
courtesy.
That's a fabulous way of conducting a debate. Thank you. Go ahead.
So what I'm trying to say is that any family which has been touched by BJP's governance is going to stick with the party, because this has been a difficult time. I can actually say that the last 5 years have seen a little bit of everything happening, from a pandemic starting to fantastic development. So people have gone through highs and lows in every manner whatsoever, and yet Yogi Ji is very popular on ground. Can you imagine a woman who's got a house registered in her name today will vote for anybody else? Elections have been turned around because lives have been touched.
Okay. Well, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. We'll only know when that last vote is counted. But Abhishek Sudhir, coming on to a larger question, what we began with. The fact is, with Yogi Adityanath now fighting this election and the importance of this election in context to 2024, whether he fights or not, in all probability, he just might. There's immense pressure on the likes of Akhilesh Yadav, on the likes of Priyanka Gandhi to actually put their money where their mouth is to pick up the poll gauntlet and test the waters themselves.
Yeah, so Preeti, as an analyst, what intrigues me is, why did Yogi Adityanath decide to contest the election this time? Because essentially you've upset the apple cart in Gorakhpur urban. You have Radha Mohan Das Agarwal, who's been winning that seat now since 2002. He's been winning that seat for 20 years. So why did Yogi contest? I have a theory on this, which is backed up by some of my sources in the BJP. I live very close to the BJP's state unit in Lucknow. And the story I've heard is that Mr. Adityanath feels that by winning, he will put a lot of pressure on the High Command in Delhi to ensure he's brought back as Chief Minister. So, and with Keshav Prasad Maurya is really gunning.
Okay, no, Abhishek Sudhir, that's all speculation. The BJP has already announced that they're fighting this election under Yogi Adityanath.
You just said Charu shouldn't be interrupted.
No, I'm asking you a question.
You've called me as an analyst. I'm just giving you my 2 cents, and Charu can rebut.
No,
I'm just saying
asking
that there
you.
is still...
Yeah. The BJP had already... the BJP had already declared him as CM face.
But this was all before the 15 BJP MLAs who defected. This was before the 3 mantris who defected. Last July, the RSS sent a fact-finding team, Preeti, led by Dattatreya Hosbale from Karnataka. And the MLAs had sat against Dharna. Rajbar has spoken about how Yogi Adityanath insults ministers and how the bureaucrats are running the state. Preeti, I live in Lucknow. I have my ear to the ground. I'm not one of those spokespersons who sits in Delhi. So I'm telling you that Keshav Prasad Maurya is making a play for that seat. If Yogi Adityanath does not get an emphatic 250-275 seat majority, Keshav Prasad Maurya is in the game. Let me tell you that.
Well,
that's
what. Okay, Charu Pragya, the fact is, whatever Abhishek Sudhir has said is what Lucknow chatter, or rather Delhi chatter, is right now.
So it's all hearsay, Preeti. First of all, let me just say this. And the second thing is, when our party announces a CM face at the beginning of an election, we have gone with that face all the way till the end. We might have won that election, lost that election, that is secondary. So whether it was Fadnavis ji, whether it was Jharkhand elections, even this time round, Uttar Pradesh elections, we are very clear what we are doing. We are putting our money where our mouth is, if I can use that phrase. We are very confident of Yogi ji's leadership. And see, like I have said, we are talking this election on the basis of a report card. This is not just a manifesto which is circulating and talking of lofty dreams like Samajwadi Party is doing today. They will come and criticize everything. And I stopped one spokesperson and I said, okay, you've got issues with XYZ. What's your plan to deal with the problem? And that person was blank. Now, that is the reality of Samajwadi Party, or honestly any other opposition in Uttar Pradesh, because they don't have a flowchart and a plan of governance. All they want to do is pull BJP down,
Okay.
and you know that's the biggest difference between our party and theirs.
All right. Okay, I know. I'm afraid that's all the time that I have for Abhishek Sudhir. I know you wanted to come in, but save it for the next time because we're going to invite you again. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of To The Point, and we leave it with the question. Now pressure is on the big faces. Akhilesh Yadav has bitten the poll bullet. In all probability, he's fighting this election. What about Priyanka Gandhi Vadra? Will she do so as well? A quick break to stay with us. Up next is my colleague Gaurav Sawant.